In the shadows of Mexico's drug war, one name rose above the rest. A name whispered in fear. A name printed on wanted posters across borders. That name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. But the world knows him by another name. Mencho. This is the story of how a small-town boy became one of the most powerful and dangerous drug lords in modern history. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born in 1966 in a poor rural area of Michoacan, Mexico. Life was hard. Opportunities were few. Like many young men in the region, he eventually crossed the border into the United States in search of work. But instead of opportunity, he found crime. In the 1980s, Mencho became involved in drug trafficking operations in California. Eventually, he was arrested and served time in a U.S. prison for drug-related offenses. After being deported back to Mexico in the 1990s, his life took a darker turn. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Back in Mexico, Mencho joined the Mencho Cartel, learning the structure, discipline, and brutality of organized crime. But when that cartel began to weaken due to arrests and internal conflict, a power vacuum opened. And Mencho saw opportunity. In 2010, after the collapse of older cartel structures, he co-founded what would become one of the most violent and rapidly expanding criminal organizations in Mexico, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Also known as CJNG. CJNG didn't rise quietly. It rose with force. Unlike older cartels that preferred secrecy, Mencho's organization used overt displays of power, armored vehicles, military-style weapons, public threats, and coordinated attacks against Mexican security forces. In 2015, CJNG fighters even shot down a Mexican military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. It was a bold message to the government. They were not afraid. And they were not going anywhere. Under Mencho's leadership, CJNG expanded aggressively across Mexico and into international markets. The cartel became heavily involved in trafficking methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and later fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that would devastate communities far beyond Mexico's borders. U.S. authorities labeled CJNG one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. The U.S. government placed a multi-million-dollar reward for information leading to Mencho's capture. But despite global attention, he remains at large. So how does someone rise to that level of power? Experts describe Mencho as strategic, ruthless, and disciplined. Unlike flamboyant drug lords of the past, he rarely appears publicly. No social media. Few verified photos. Almost no direct interviews. He operates from the shadows. His power comes not from fame, but from fear. The story of Mencho is not just about one man. It is about the environment that allows men like him to rise. Poverty. Corruption. Weak institutions. High international demand for drugs. Complex political pressures. And decades of cartel conflict that have reshaped entire regions. Mexico's drug war has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives over the past 2 decades. Families displaced. Communities fractured. Young lives pulled into violence. Behind the headlines and the mythology of cartel bosses lies a much darker reality, one of human cost. Mencho's rise shows how modern cartels evolved. They adapted. They became more militarized, more decentralized, more global, and far more difficult to dismantle. Despite major arrests of other cartel leaders over the years, CJNG continues to operate as one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the region. The man at the center of it all remains one of the most wanted fugitives in the world. So who is Mencho? He is a symbol of modern organized crime. A product of circumstance, ambition, violence, and power. A man who rose from poverty to become one of the most feared figures in the global drug trade. But behind the legend is a harsh truth. The real story isn't about the kingpin. It's about the consequences. And until the deeper roots of the problem are addressed, the cycle continues. This is not a story of glorification. It is a story of warning. Because in the shadows where power grows unchecked, the cost is always paid by the innocent.